Hey guys, so another morning broadcast today. Just going to have a little look through the selections today. Let's just hide that. So I've downloaded my sheet. A lot of games just kicked off, which is annoying. I'll just have to go and get their odds quick. Actually, the South Korean games. Let's go to South Korea. Oh, I know I can do this quicker actually. I'll do it on my phone. I'm glad that people are enjoying these, by the way. Obviously, just trying to give a bit of an insight into what I'm doing in the morning, kind of preparing for a day of trading. It's difficult. I think this is another thing, like obviously to be aware of when you trade in the summer leagues, is that a lot of the time zones are going to be different. So like you get a lot of leagues like South Korea, and if that's a league you trade, then obviously it's going to be on early morning. Same with Australia, same with Japan, China. It was weird yesterday. Did anyone else find that it was weird yesterday that there was no, well, hardly any South Korean games, which I found really annoying because, no, sorry, Chinese games, because I was trying to trade the Chinese games and it's like, oh, they're not on Betfair today. It's like, come on, this is a Chinese Super League. It's a decent league now. I mean, look at the money they're paying to some of the players. I don't know if it's a political thing. Betfair couldn't be bothered to cover it. I don't know. Anyway, let's have a look at these games. So both teams to score would have been around evens on JG. Let's go to Jeonbuk. Jeonbuk. That's first division, isn't it? That's tomorrow. Okay, cool. All right, let's get rid of the 7th ones because they're just going to confuse me otherwise. And it saves me having to do those odds today. My plan is over the next couple of days to update all my sheets. So hopefully get all the football stats up to date and also get all the horse racing up to date. So I want to see how last month did on that. I'm not that far off actually on the horses, getting much more heavily involved in that in terms of trading myself. I don't use that. Well, I'll keep that in actually. Okay, so what other games have kicked off at 11? JG. Oh, this is like one that needs everything. Okay, so it's probably too high actually. Both teams to score. Let's go 4. Which only just started. I'll say 1.9 here on that. Just kind of having to estimate based on what the odds currently are as to what they would have been about 5 minutes ago before kickoff, which isn't easy. That's JG game, so we need over 1.5, which is 1.4. So let's just say 1.35. It's not going to change much. That's the other thing about like South Korean leagues and Japanese leagues. They can be, you can get good odds for goals. Now, doesn't necessarily obviously mean that's going to happen, but you never know, do you? Let's just go 2.1 here. Both teams to score, which is the last one. So 3.5 first half goal, both teams to score. 1.9. JG. It's a good name, isn't it? JG. I love how they have names like United as well, like their English teams. Over under 3.5. That is 4.1. So probably about 3.9. And then first half goal. Which is 1.56. I'm going to go 1.45 here. And that should be about roughly what it was. That's the end of Jeju, isn't it? But we do have a Japanese game. Kanazawa. Okay, which means I have to go straight to Japan here. Which is annoying. I always wonder on football, like, you know, when you click football on Betfair, why does it not just bring up all the leagues? Why do you have to then click another button to actually get to the other leagues? It's like, oh, these are the most popular ones. It's like, well, they're not always the best ones to trade. It's got to be J League 2, I'm guessing. Yeah, Kanazawa over under 3.5. I should be on the most. No, it's not. Okay, let's find it. Okay, unders would have been about 1.3. Don't know, maybe 1.32. But yeah, so in those generally lower scoring leagues like Japan and South Korea, you can get some really good value if you're looking for goals. You find selections that come up on those filters. But obviously just be aware that, you know, there's a chance it might not work, because sometimes the odds are big for a reason in those situations. So just make sure your strategy is spot on. But if it is, and you test those leagues and they're working, then they can actually be like mini gold mines, really. So let's go back to South Korea here. All football, South Korea. And Betfair doesn't call it South Korea either. If you get confused, they just call it Korea Republic of, and then they call it South Korean K-League. So it kind of makes me laugh, but that's just the way they do it. So what do we need next? Gangwon, the big Gangwon game. Both teams to score 1.8. These Chilean and Swedish games I'm going to start for ages. Any more Gangwon while we're here? Gangwon. That's just split stake. I don't need to do that one. Under 2.5. That's set and forget. What's that popped up again? So I got this. So I got Matt's under 2.5, which started off really well and then just didn't do well. So we kind of scrapped it. I think when Adam's removed it, because I got him to remove it from the, you know, profitable members filters, and actually it's popped back up in mine. That's quite funny. So it popped back up because I've already got another version of it here, so I don't need any of those. Let's have a look if any of these come up in more unders filters. Under 3.5. No, I think that's fine. I'm just going to get rid of those. Okay, so where were we? Gangwon style. Okay, so South Korea, Suwon next. That's league filters, so we don't need that one. And we've got that, obviously. I think that's pretty much it, actually, for South Korea. So what we can do now, let's check there's no other games kicking off soon. I need to get the odds now. Nope. Okay, so let's take this and we'll move it over to the data sheet. I mean, when there's this few selections in general, like on the day, I probably don't even need to use the data sheet to work out which ones are going to be on multiple filters and which ones aren't. But we'll do it nonetheless. Should we have a look at how yesterday's did, actually? So I think the only problem with some of yesterday's were the odds were pretty short. Wuhan wasn't even, this is annoying, Wuhan wasn't on Betfair, so I couldn't trade that one. I'll just remove that. Well, there's no point removing it from the data sheet, actually, because that's not the one that I add it to, because it's got its own filter. But anyway, Let's have a look for Breidablik and Grorod. In one of my least favourite leagues, Norway second division. So Grorod was 2-1. Actually, put the goal times in there as well. 2-2 would have been good. 2-1. Ken late goals, man, every time. 60, 87 and 89. Unbelievable. Multiple late goals as well. We're seeing that quite often. You know, I mean, 3 goals after 59 minutes. Amazing. And nothing before that, ironically. Breidablik. I'm hoping they had, like, you know, a goal fest in Iceland. 1-0. Oh, that's rubbish. That's a rubbish one, that. 1-0. 63. So still a fairly late goal, even though there's only one. It does feel like the late goals are the absolute best thing you can go with on this strategy. Maybe like a split stake, where you get in at like 60, a bit in at 60, a bit in at 70, a bit in at 80, and a bit on 85, I don't know, 84. Do such yesterday's results. So I need to copy the data over, don't I, for today. So I'm just going to move that over here. I use that as a reference when I do the results later. And that loads up. Okay, just put that there for now. At least I've got the reference for later, and then I can input all that data. Yeah, and I want to get all the other matches. So, like I say with this, I want to get all of these matches, the odds from Bet Explorer, look at the historical bookie odds, kind of work out what they would have been. Just use those because they'll actually be worse odds than Betfair because bookies odds in general. I think there's always stats. Have you seen those adverts Betfair do where they're like, oh, you know, 70% of the time, or like 75% of the time, William Hill have worse odds than Betfair and things like that. The Betfair exchange, and it makes sense really. So let's go to the data sheet. Gary Cook. Hello, Gary. Good to see you. Well, I can see you actually. I was going to say I can't see. I can read what you're saying. That's one thing about trading. You always have to be aware. Some people may just know something you don't. Maybe a player will be on a bench that you expected to be there, most likely score, etc. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's why the beauty as well. If you get something like the combined strategy like this, where you've only got a handful of selections each day, and sometimes you won't get any selections. You know, maybe on a Thursday or Monday, or the odd Tuesday and Wednesday, maybe in the summer more as well, where there's less leagues. But you've got time to then go and research the games, so you can then go and give yourself another 5 minutes for each game. You know, what's that going to take you? 20 minutes. You could then go and have a look and go, okay, what's the likely lineup? Is there any big injury news? Is there something to be concerned about? That is definitely kind of a way of adding an extra layer to improve your selection criteria. I definitely do advocate for that. So let's go over to the data sheet. We're over there now. Don't know if that's still pasted actually. No. Okay, so we need to copy this again. Control C. Wuhan has a team. I'm sure there's a joke in there. Wuhan has 2 teams because there's another team called Wuhan 3 Towns or something. It's quite an inventive name. I don't know where that's come from. Maybe they've kind of had a split since COVID. These 3 towns don't want to be associated with each other. I do not know. Let's sort the sheet. Careful how you say that, haven't you? So none of these are in more than 2. So the only game that could possibly be one today is Trelleborg. No other filter pops up on 3 or more filters, so we can delete those rows. And again, this is the beauty of it, Gary, where you're looking at, okay, here's a situation where we've got one selection today, potentially. I still need to double check that these are right, and they are. I don't know why that's gone like that. Let's delete that column. So both teams to score and mirrors both teams score. I count those as the same filter because their selection is so similar. So I'm actually going to delete that one and not count it. But we've still got 3 selections, 3 strategies, as a saying. You know, there's going to be goals or strategies that predict goals. So it has come up on 3 filters. So I'm going to put a 3 there to remind me. And that is the one selection for today. Trollborg versus AFC Eskilstuna. Eskilstuna. Tuna. Maybe that's where they have loads of tuna. I don't know. Who knows, right? Who knows? Well, I'll tell you who'll know. Frode will know because it's in his neck of the woods. He's Norwegian, so you know the big rivals in Sweden. Combined overs. That's the sheet I want here, and then I'll port that over. And that is that selection for today. So let's finish off, because I don't think I've done one where I've just gone through and picked off all the odds, have I? So let's just finish this sheet now. I'm going to do the odds from my phone just because it takes ages for me to load anything on my computer when I'm streaming live. Let's get a new one. Ryan always takes the mick out of me because I'm just so stingy with money and stuff. But, you know, I don't see it as stingy. I see it as careful. I'm very careful. It's funny because people always think, because of the industry I'm in, you know, technically it's the gambling industry, what we do. But the way I do it is so different to what people think gambling is. It's quite funny because, you know, I have conversation with people about my work and they think, oh, God, you know, it's really risky. It's all this X, Y, and Z. And then, you know, a few years later, when they learn a lot more about me and stuff, they'll start coming to me for financial advice. And I'm like, hang on, you were really worried about how risky I was. And now you actually realize I'm actually I'm actually very risk averse. I'm so careful with any money I invest. As Ryan can attest to, if you want to speak to him, Ryan and Adam always taking the mick out of me about how tight I am with money and stuff. But that's how I've done well. That's one part of the secret, is that if you are careful with your investments, if you are very protective of your money, if you do see, you know, the money as your little babies and you want to look after them and help them grow and nurture, that is one of the best ways to actually start thinking about money and things like that. So yeah, it's funny that the industry I'm in, people think it's really risky, and then until they actually talk to me, they realize that what I do is very, very different to that. But because it comes under the same umbrella, technically, people have that initial bad opinion. Okay, back under 1.5 goals, 4.4. I don't like this strategy, this under 1.5 goals strategy. I'm sticking with it for the time being, just for recording the results. But to be honest, I don't think I'll ever end up trading that one. Anything else in Mexico? Yep, same game. Club America, under 3.5. Okay, so it's come up on 2 unders filters. I wonder if it came up on, let's just go back and let's see if it came up on that one. No, it didn't come up on that one. Okay, cool. So it doesn't qualify as an unders. Because sometimes you can get an unders one on the combined filters. Even though I only have 3 unders filters. So I do kind of wonder if I should do a combined unders one, but only count 2 filters, and that would qualify. But I feel like 2 is too little a number to be like, oh, that's clearly showing up on a few filters. But then again, because I've only got 3 filters for unders, it's like, well, it's going to be really, really hard for you to have 3 that appear on every single filter you have, you know. So I've had 1 selection so far in the last couple of weeks. It was on all 3, so it's incredibly rare. Anyway, over under 3.5. Over under 1.43 to 1.48, which makes 1.44. Club America. If you're into football shirt, I quite like my football shirts, especially like the retro or different ones. If you like football shirts, you should look into the Mexican leagues because they have some amazing like special edition shirts that they sell. I mean, I think Club America's one where it's just like they have like proper Aztec style shirts. They have like all these kind of almost like Miami Vice type color shirts. It's quality. So yeah, a little aside there. Okay, Sweden. Well, let's have a look at Trelleborg actually, because this is interesting. I need to get the odds for this game anyway for the combined filters. Let's get away from Mexico. Mexico. I actually have a good friend who lives in Mexico, and he's been playing football over there. And it's great that I think they just literally loads of people just play football in like the streets and stuff. But even like we have like 3D pitches. I think in a lot of, especially in like Mexico City, they kind of have the same thing, but no 3G, just concrete. Like, can you imagine playing like men's football on concrete like you did in the kind of the school playground, but with big guys who don't mind giving you a good kick. If you've ever watched any of those Central American or South American leagues, you'll know what I mean about that. There's a lot more of that sort of stuff goes on than over here. It's a bit like watching football from here in the 70s at times. Right, it's got to be the Superettan then. Superettan? Is it the Superettan or Superettan? I'd love it if someone could just do some pronunciations for me on these things. I mean, I've traded the Swedish second division for donkey's years, and it's funny because I've never heard these teams said. I only ever see them written out on Betfair. So I probably have ways of pronouncing them that I've just made up and they're stuck with over the years. And I can look at it and go, oh yeah, that's that. And then I hear someone pronounce it, like maybe in a Europa League game or something, like, oh, so I had that like incredibly wrong for the last 10 years. So let's have a look at Trelleborgs. It could be Trelleborgs, I don't know. Over 1.5 is going to be about 1.18. Is that on the F1.5? Yeah, that's too short. So another thing here, actually, I don't think I've touched on this because I haven't done this, like putting all the odds in thing with you too much, is that a lot of strategies have odds filters, okay? So the over 1.5 filter, Martin's over 1.5, the selection only qualifies between 1.25 and 1.35. Most of the games that come up on it will not qualify. So it's important not to trade them when they're too short like this for that strategy. So if that's a strategy you're following, you don't want to do that one. I'm going to put that in here because that's the over 1.5 odds. And put it where it should be. 1.18. That's going to be what you're going to get on that. Over 2.5 will be around 1.55. Over 3.5, I've got that right now. Both teams to score. It's going to be, so that's 12, get about 1.62. And let's have a look at the rest of the over-unders. Over-under 3.5. 20 gaps, about 7, about 2.32, and then over 4.5, 5 gap, 13 gap, I had 4, about 3.95, first half goal. It's interesting actually that Betfair doesn't really consider first half goal to be that popular a market. It does make me wonder if it is just a really hard market to crack and people don't bother. But I do just often think the odds are too short in that market. Even on games where they're having good strike rates and things, it still can be hard to get a profit on that market. Shall I move these scores over to the right place now? Let's move these over so it doesn't get confusing. See if I can do this right. Chelsea. So the other good thing about having a good spreadsheet like this, how easy it is to kind of just move stuff around and get everything inputted. Not inputted, that's not a word. So yeah, they're the odds you're going to get on these today. Let's have a look at comparing. Have we had anything at similar odds? 1.18, 1.5. It's good. It's always good to see that, like, how close these odds are. So like, you know, LA Galaxy, the odds are 1.18 here, 1.15, 1.55, 2.38, virtually identical here, 1.18. So when you do get one odds in one market, it generally does mean that it will scale up in the same way, pretty much. You know, even the over 4.5, the odds aren't only 2 ticks apart here. First half goal was a little shorter, interestingly, than it was in LA, out in LA. So, I'm done now with that combined one. That's good. Let's have a look there. So both teams to score was, I can just get this from the sheet, 1.62. 1.2 would be bad, wouldn't it, for both teams to score? What's the shortest both teams to score, Rog, you've ever seen? Mine's 1.3, which was on a Singapore game the other day. But there must have been shorter ones, because some of the, especially in Singapore, some of those odds are crazy, man. Okay, so these league filtered ones can go over to the profitable members filters. So I'm going to move those over now. So let's start with first half goal trading. And again, I don't record the odds with these because it's in-play trading. So you'd have to get the odds at 15 minutes on every game, which I'm not about for every single game, obviously. So I'm going to wait for back testing, which I've spoken to Adam about, and he said we should be able to just, because of the data we'll have and the historical data we'll have from Betfair, we should just be able to pull out the odds from the data. I might actually ask him if he can do that now when as soon as we purchase the data, like just look at these specific matches that I've got recorded and see what he can do with those in terms of working out what the odds would be. That's quite a good idea, actually. So I'll see if I can do that. Lately, the draw. So this is another strategy I don't love, by the way, the late the draw. I've got a late goal any scoreline one that's a lot better, and that's kind of the one I'd go with. I wouldn't go with this one. I'm still going to track it for the time being until I'm like sure I want to get rid of it. Any more league filtered? Yes, split stake. South Korea. Okay. So I get rid of that. And you see as well, like, so even just looking at the set and forget so far, we've come from our longer list and we're already down to like, so we take one of 12 selections, you know, which is very manageable, I think, especially on set and forget where you can just place a bet before the start of the match and leave it. It's not difficult to place 12 bets, is it? Dan's laid the draw next. Hang on, we need to look at, let's look at John Copping next. Or Trailborg for both teams to score. We've got that one, haven't we? What is that? 1.62. So we'll look at John Copping. Again, I don't know how badly I've pronounced that. Probably horrifically. John Copping Sodra versus Osters. It's a lot of things end in S, don't they? John Copping's Osters. Okay, so over 1.5 is 1.32, which is bang in the odds range for Martin's over 1.5. That's not me, by the way. That's another Martin who came up with that system and been doing incredibly well. So good on him. Kanazawa 0-1 after 27 minutes. Well, good on Kanazawa. Oh, I can hear my kid crying now. So I probably won't have too much longer. We should be able to get to the end of this video actually, because I've only got 3 more to input. Chile, that's how they pronounce it, by the way. So when I went to Chile, they definitely say they like it being Chile. Santiago Wanderers, LTD, 3.55, so about 3.5 there. Always ready. What a great name for a team that is, Always Ready. Let's go to Bolivia now. Have a look at the odds there. Bolivia. I've only got Universitario de Vinto here. Oh, it's not on Betfair. And why? When is it? It's 8 PM tonight. Why is it not on Betfair? I know it's when Betfair does that. They'll probably put it on later in the day, but I'm not going to bother because I only look in them. Again, another thing is, like, people say, well, what do you do if a game's not on Betfair? Or, what if it's not popped up yet and it might later on? I'm not going to hang about worrying about it. I do my trading, I do my set and forgets during my time slot. When that's done, I'm done. So I'm just going to remove the game. Like, it might have been a winner, who knows? But it's not on Betfair. I can't trade it. It's not much use to me at the moment. Maybe it'll come on later. Maybe it won't. I'm not going to waste my time worrying about that. Again, this is the value of a portfolio. If you've got a portfolio of many strategies that are good ones, you don't have to worry too much about, oh, what if this one doesn't qualify? What happens if Betfair aren't covering this game? You can just kind of ignore it and move on. Okay, so let's have a look at Brazil. Or football. Brazil. Serie A. Is it Serie A? No, it's Serie B. Just my luck. See, now if it's Serie A, should it be Serie B? But I still say Serie B. Again, probably because I've never heard anyone pronounce it. Sorry, totally random thoughts coming out today. Under 1.5 is 22.76, about 2.4 to lay. And that is all the odds for today's selections. So again, if I'm doing this on a second screen, not recording, it's much, much quicker to do, but it hasn't taken me that long anyway, has it? To do all that stuff this morning in so when I started the stream about half an hour ago. So again, hopefully I can show you that, how easy it can be and how it's not too bad. Hope everyone has a good day. And most importantly, I hope you make some money on Betfair.